Hi, I'm Paul, and welcome to Potato Productions, where we're not going to talk about tomatoes. Instead, today we'll be talking about the hygiene hypothesis: what it is, from whence it came, how it affects people, and what they should do. So, what is the hygiene hypothesis? It's the theory that a lack of exposure to pathogens and microbiota early in life leads to autoimmune disorders later in life. That's saying being too clean around kids leads to them developing allergies, asthma, and even diabetes. The term hygiene hypothesis was coined following a paper published in 1989 titled Hay Fever, Hygiene, and Household Size by David P. Strachan, an epidemiologist at St. George's University of London. In his paper, Strachan observed a higher incidence of hay fever in smaller families in the UK. He took this observation, along with the known increase in autoimmune diseases and allergies, and decrease in infection rates up to this point, to propose that the contemporary Western lifestyle that has managed to massively decrease the number of infections also caused the rise of allergies. His reasoning for this proposal, which is still the reasoning used today, is that young children who aren't exposed to infections and germs have a less well-trained immune system that identifies non-threats as threats, which explains why larger families with more people and therefore more germs to pass around would experience less hay fever. To explain how this works, the human immune system is a learning machine. Anytime it encounters a new pathogen, it not only fights it, but remembers how to best fight it. So if the pathogen ever attacks again, your immune system can fight it much more easily. But the immune system encounters things besides pathogens that are generally harmless, from most bacteria to pollen to whatever substance. So it has to learn which of those substances are harmful and which are harmless. But it can't do this while still in the womb. According to an article by the FDA, scientists observed that the immune systems of fetuses in the womb are deactivated so that they don't attack the mother's cells, which means that the baby's immune system has to learn after being born. It does this through interacting with the environment, and it interacts a lot. Babies will stick anything and everything in their mouth: toys, balls, your favorite book, whatever they can get their cute, chubby little hands on. This exposes the baby to all those germs on those things, which clues their immune system on what kind of stuff is out there. The problem is that all these things that they stick in their mouths are incessantly cleaned, so that the baby isn't exposed to germs. They get a fresh pacifier, the toys are wiped, everything is made as clean as possible. But this means that the baby isn't exposed to all those harmless germs and substances, so that when they do encounter them, the immune system thinks it could be something dangerous and overreacts. This is allergies. The hygiene hypothesis also suggests that the kids should be exposed to infections. However, this subject is contentious. The obvious problem here is that they'd be getting infections, which is no small matter. Infections can be dangerous, especially for young children. There's a reason for the hygiene revolution in the 19th and 20th centuries. In the early 1900s, hundreds of thousands of people died every year to infections, with a spike in 1918 due to the Spanish flu. As hygienic practices spread along with antibiotics, the amount of deaths due to infections decreased dramatically. Doctors want you to wash your hands for a reason. The other problem with exposing your children to infections is that it may not even work. According to an article in the Proceedings of a National Academy of Sciences, the major candidate explanation for the mechanism behind why no infections may cause autoimmune disease was an imbalance between two immune cells, Th1 and Th2 T cells. Infections cause an upregulation of Th1 T cells, and a lack of infections leads to a downregulation of Th1 T cells, which leads to an increase in the activity of Th2 T cells, which is a sign of allergic disorders. This seemed to fit what with the rate of infections and allergies in developed nations, but scientists found a problem. In developing countries, helminth infections, which are associated with decreased allergic disease, are parasitic infections that lead to an upregulation of Th2 T cells. So that isn't the reason for less allergies. This conundrum, along with further research, has led to the proposal of a new related hypothesis, the old friends hypothesis, proposed in 2003 by Graham Rook and colleagues, says that the exposure of children to old friends, that is, harmless bacteria that we have evolved over millennia alongside, is what trains the immune system to respond to threats correctly, not infections. The hypothesis works in tandem with recent research about the microbiome in people. The microbiome is all the bacteria that live inside us, mostly in our gut. All of these bacteria are harmless and often helpful. They influence a variety of things, from how well we can digest food to how effective our immune system is. So it's important to have a healthy microbiome. And in the same way that an ecosystem is healthy if it has diversity, a microbiome is healthy if it has diversity, which means people need exposure to harmless bacteria in order to keep their microbiome, and thus themselves, healthy. This is especially pertinent for young children, as their microbiome is just as underdeveloped as their immune system. In a TEDx talk by Claire Fraser, a professor at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, she says that the exposure starts with being birthed through the vagina, where the baby is exposed to the mother's vaginal microbiome. In addition, the baby experiences more of the mother's microbiome through breast milk, which even contains fructooligosaccharides, that was a mouthful, that are there to feed not the baby, but the bacteria. Dr. Fraser says that the microbiome defends us against pathogens and establishes itself very early in life. The PNAS articles say the same thing, specifying that probiotic intervention is important before the child reaches 3 to 4 years, since at that point the immune system has pretty much established itself. What all this says is that people, especially children, need exposure to germs. Without them, people have underdeveloped microbiomes and immune systems, which lead to a higher incidence of autoimmune disorders. But people should not take this the wrong way. Washing your hands and being hygienic is still important. Wash your hands when touching raw meat or public doorknobs and handles. Those things can easily carry dangerous pathogens. And even though a kitchen sponge has a huge amount of bacteria on it, that's not an excuse to rub it in your little sibling's face. But you should definitely get your kid exposed to nature. Encourage them to play outside, and if they come in with their hands a little dirty, it's alright for them to eat a sandwich. Or get a pet. Dogs and cats are breeding grounds for harmless bacteria. Will populate your child's microbiome in no time. And disinfectant on everything really isn't necessary. I'll leave you with this, dear viewer. Being clean is good. Being too clean is not. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.